Good morning, members. It's now time for us to start our meeting, and we've also formed a quorum. I'll first invite the government representatives and the deputations to enter the conference room.
First
of all, I'd like members to reserve time for this meeting. We have 107 deputations and individuals attending today. Good morning, members. This is the meeting of the Subcommittee to study the implementation of free kindergarten education of the panel on education. I'd like to welcome the representatives from the government and the deputations and individuals attending. Today, we're going to take views from them on kindergarten education, free kindergarten education. In particular, the major subjects studied by the subcommittee. Friends attending, you can put on your earpiece and choose the channels. Channel 0 is floor channel. Channel 1 is Cantonese. Channel 2 is English. Channel 3 is Putonghua. If necessary, you can raise your hand and our staff can assist you. Today, we have altogether 107 deputations and individuals attending. We'll have 4 sessions. I'll like to draw the attention of the deputation and individuals that your verbal and written submissions will not be protected by the LegCo Powers and Privileges Ordinance. I'd also like to draw your attention to the fact that if you're attending a meeting in our conference rooms or sitting in the public gallery, you should take note of our security measures and understand from the notes distributed to you by the Secretariat annexed to the letters sent to you. First of all, invite the Undersecretary to do a briefing. Please be as concise as possible, and then I'll invite the deputations and individuals to speak 3 minutes each, and if necessary, you can supplement. We have 107 deputations and individuals today, quite many, so I'll strictly adhere to the rule of 3 minutes per speaker. If the timer indicates that time's up, I'll ask you to stop, so please understand that. If you cannot complete your remarks, you can choose to send us a written supplementary submission, and our members will read them thoroughly. Under Secretary. Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, I'm very pleased to see so many of you here. I'd like to say that for the 3-year free KG education, it is one of the major tasks of this term of the SARG. As you're all from the profession, we understand that in the KG sector, the operation and ecology are rather diversified and pluralistic. When we deliberate on how to maintain this diversified and vibrant situation, we feel is a challenge, in particular when the government wants to provide assistance in terms of the use of resources. When we provide assistance, to a certain extent, we have to be accountable to the public, and we need to have regulation. So how to strike a balance? This is a major challenge when we deliberate on the subject. We are pleased to have the Committee on Free Kindergarten Education to examine the issues for us. The rough timetable is that in a few months' time, in the middle of this year, they'll submit a report to us. Then the government, the Education Bureau, will take follow-up action with the objective of launching some specific initiatives within this term of the government. So I'll take views from the public. Yes, the aim of this meeting is to take public views. So I'll hand over the floor to the deputations and individuals attending. I'll follow the sequence prepared by the Secretariat, 3 minutes per deputation. First, Dr. Fung. In the education sector, in particular for the workers on preschool education, they've been working for 20 years. Now we see some hope. We would like to have appropriate planning and implementation for the various subjects. We shouldn't be asked to accept makeshift arrangements for future remedy. I have 4 areas to speak on. The greatest controversy is that we would like to have something similar to primary and secondary education. We want such a subvention structure. This is a humble request, nothing new, not much innovation. You just want to refer to the established systems for the primary and secondary education. But from the messages we received, there are a lot of controversies and problems for these 4 areas. Subvention mode, the structure, pay structure, professional direction, and insufficient subvention for full-day school. I focus on the pay structure. Why? The pay structure directly impacts on the morale, quality, and sustainability of the profession. Whether or not our professional team can provide quality education to the pupils and enhance educational quality is a crucial issue. Therefore, a reasonable pay structure is reasonable. What's meant by reasonable? All along we say that we should refer to the primary and secondary education at the moment. That is to have a reimbursement system rather than a block grant. That is, the subvention level will be capped to cover all our expenses, including salaries and wages. In fact, this is nothing new. In the welfare sector, this has been in place for 14 years. I'm also from the welfare sector. I teach social work. In the past 14 years, we saw that there are a lot of grievances and complaints in the welfare sector. This block grant system has a very poor track record. So we have the sample, which is impracticable with a lot of problems. On many occasions, the welfare sector came to LegCo to air their grievances and ask for an abolition of the block grant system, which cannot retain talents and professionals or cannot retain such personnel. In the past, the welfare sector has worked very, very hard in very poor circumstances. In fact, they performed very well. In future, are we going to maintain that system? All our proposals are in the paper. Time's up for you. Next, Ms. Chow. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Today is a very good platform for frontline workers to add their views on this first occasion after the announcement of the policy address. We agree to the recommendations of the Committee on Free Kindergarten Education in terms of free services and diversification. They would like to nurture our children right from childhood. We shouldn't just have a slogan. We should have very realistic assistance for the families. In October 2014, there's a very simple survey with 2,429 questionnaires received with 4 KGs, full-time KGs. For those who have obtained assistance, 19%, that is around 20% of families succeeded. 80% of the families failed to apply for a subsidy. So that's very difficult for the parents. And then among these 80% families, for those earning a monthly income of $20,000 to $35,000, they're not eligible for remission or reduction. 22.4% of these families are earning $27,000. So we would like the government to face these families with income between $27,000 to $30,000. In future, we won't get any more vouchers. So please take note of these 28% of families. As for development of teachers, insofar as policies are concerned, resources depend on policies. The government only counts 3 hours for subsidy. The most difficult receivers are the full-day schools because we have to serve 7 more hours after 3 hours. 80% of the parents fail to get subsidy. They have to pay a very high fee. And the wastage rate of teachers will be higher. You cannot have the cake and eat it. You cannot have the best of both worlds. Why is it that teachers have to work for long hours on a long-term basis? And the return is that they're paid at the mercy of others. So we must adopt a reimbursement system. And for pre-service training, we would like that to be implemented before 2020. Finally, we want a timetable and a professional blueprint for our teachers, such that our co-workers will have hope and a stable structure. Our submission has already been passed to you, Chairman. Please note our remarks. Ms. Chow's submission is being distributed to you. Number 3, Mr. Yan. Good morning, Chairman and Under Secretary. I don't think we need to say too much about preschool education. I'd like to share with you a number of cases. I serve in the sector under the long holiday system. I also participate in management programs organized by the tertiary institutions. I have 2 cases here, both very special, about pre-service teachers. Under the mandatory programs, I have these few boys who are very enthusiastic. But talking about their future and professionalization, they do have difficulties. When I spoke to them, they said that they might have difficulty in joining the service after being trained, and they might not receive sufficient attention in terms of social status, and the pay structure may not be able to meet their demands. They are men, so they want to set up their own families. I also have deep feelings because I had that experience as well. So if you want to retain people, you really have to think about all these. Secondly, my institution has schools all over Hong Kong, Kowloon, NT. Sometimes our teachers ask whether or not they have done anything wrong, such that the government is overturning the long whole day system, the LWD system. Well, precisely, though these are people who have served in the profession for 20 to 30 years. For long whole day establishments, very often we're talking about unleashing the potentials of women to cope with the needs of our children. Most of those teachers who have children will place their children under the long whole day system, the LWD system. They told me that if their 2 to 3 children cannot be put in long whole day KGs, their working potentials cannot be unleashed because they have to go back to their family to serve their children. And there are problems with elderly safety, children's safety, etc. So they have to take care of teaching and caring at the same time. They emphasize education, or rather the government emphasizes education and neglects caring work. So please take into consideration both. Next, Ms. Wong. Good morning. What about this 5-year-old? I don't know whether such a child knows to ask her where it will be living in future. But the parents of these young children will ask why they have to pay fees for KG education when there's this system of 15 years of free education. Our lions have been put up our request, but the answer was that taxpayers shouldn't be helped with raising our children. In fact, they're talking about a consumption mode. But for sustainable development, there's a new scenario. In 1999, the policy address already mentioned sustainable development. The public, the business sector, the government, and all the departments should collaborate to develop both the economy and the environment. And for social infrastructure, there are these guidelines. It is hoped that Hong Kong have a stable, fair, and society that attaches importance to morality with due opportunities for education and social infrastructure, such that all generations can play their potentials to the full. So for this 15 years of free education, if we want to have sustainability, we have to think about the working parents. There should be free KG education such that their children can be comprehensively cared for. That is to resolve what Mr. Lam mentioned about the low birth rate and to lay a good foundation for our demographic development. With limited resources for schools, we're just like in a sea of high waves. We want a safe haven. So please give us full assistance.
We have already built a frame of mind which seeks change and development. We will not lose our flexibility because of lack of full subsidies and funding. And we urge the government not to just think about how to subsidize or support the KG education, but rather to take the leadership role, rather for us to be lost in this slew of development of the economy and society. Ms. WU Fung-hoi, Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very happy to have this opportunity today to speak on behalf of the profession for KG to talk about our difficulties. It is very true that the professionals and teachers in the KG sector have been leaving their positions. But why have they been doing so? It is because of the long working hours and the lack of respect for their work. At our exit interviews, they all tell us that we love KG work, but we are too tired. We are too exhausted. On the one hand, we have to teach, we have to work, but at the same time, we have to carry out ongoing learning and education. But at the end of the day, the learning and the training is not recognized by the government because of the pay scale and the pay structure. They are not able to get the pay that their qualifications merit. And as a result of that, they are very disappointed of the KG education system. Also, they have their own families. They do not have time to take care of their own families, their own children, and they are completely at a loss because of that. And further to that, because the government subsidy is far too low, the kindergarten's resources are highly limited, and as a result, there is a floating element in the pay of the teachers of the KG, and they also feel, in turn, that they are not properly respected. You have to understand that small child and the nurturing of small child, of the small child, is very important. They need love, they need safety, they need a safe environment and a stable environment. And this is the soul of the teachers who can provide for this. Only the soul of the teacher can provide for this. Please do respect the teachers. Understand the importance of the teachers and let them give their best. In the work of the teachers, they have to do observations, assessments, recordings, so that the parents will know about the development of their children. And also, there are a lot of SEN children these days, and all the more the teachers need to do focused development, professional learning, and also focused curriculum development for the SEN children. All the more, therefore, we need stability among the teachers and we need more room for their development. So definitely a reasonable pay structure is important, and also a full-scale subsidy for kindergarten education is important. Thank you very much. Mr. Ng, Liberal Party, Ng Long Fei. Kindergarten education is a very important stage of education. Our party is for 15 years of free education. The Liberal Party is concerned about the subsidy system. Money has to follow the people. We are in favor of that. That is to say, there should be subsidy for the parents, not for the kindergartens. Actually, in the voucher system which was introduced, is a step towards the 15-year free education system, and an important step for that. And there is certain efficacy, and it has alleviated to a certain extent the parents' financial burden and raised the quality of education for kindergartens. So this is a good thing. However, in the voucher system, there is a problem, and that is it does not include privately run kindergartens. I myself have 2 children. They are in privately run kindergartens, and each month's school fee is $6,000. And my wife and myself found out that they are not participating in the voucher scheme, and therefore 2 children would actually mean $12,000 per month for us as parents. But for the subsidized schools or kindergartens, it's actually but a few $100s a month. And that is a big difference. We as taxpayers pay a lot of tax, and for people like us, there are no real social benefits given to us. And these privately run kindergartens, which are money-making, I think this is not right. The vouchers should not subsidize the kindergartens so that the kindergartens can make money. They should directly subsidize the parents Now, we've been to privately run kindergartens and public kindergartens. In fact, they all put a lot of resources into the kindergartens to raise the standards of kindergarten education. And the resource is very important for the kindergartens in their operation and improvements. The Liberal Party is for cancelling this voucher system, and so that the subsidy can be enjoyed by all Hong Kong people. And also, there should be other ancillary work that has to be done. For example, training of kindergarten teachers and raising the quality of kindergarten teachers. I hope that the government would heed the middle class's view. Thank you very much. The Free Kindergarten Education Committee will be providing their report this year. And I know the inclination is for a one-off subsidy. And the pay scale is not mandatory. And also there will be no regard of the years of service and qualification of the teachers. And we believe that the kindergarten's frontline teachers' aspirations will come to naught. And usually the Secretary of Education would say that they will have to look at the reports of the committee before there can be any actions taken. I've been to some of the committee meetings, and when they are asked whether there will be a degree training for kindergarten teachers, their answer was that it is really outside of their terms of reference. Then they referred us to the government, and we're very disappointed for us. For a kindergarten teacher, long-term training, and for the development of the kindergarten sector, it is disappointing that the government does not put any emphasis on it. They are kicking us around like football, and there had been no improvements at all. The pay scale is completely market-driven. It's like buying and selling vegetables in the market with daily fluctuating prices. There is no pay scale, but in fact, the kindergarten teachers are not valued, and when they change jobs to another kindergarten, it is possible that they go down to the bottom of the pay scale. At the exit rate and the attrition rate is some 40% among the kindergarten teachers. For university graduates, actually most of them do not opt for kindergarten teacher roles. If the 15-year free education is not come to pass, if the subsidy from the government is not complete and comprehensive, there will be more of such kindergarten teachers leaving their positions with a lose-lose-lose result. It will not only hit and be detrimental to the morale of kindergarten teachers. There will also be a loss of qualified teachers from the sector, and it will be a deplorable situation. We urge that there will be a reimbursement system, a solid pay scale, and a full subsidy of kindergarten. And also there should be a ladder for progression of the kindergarten teachers with qualification and respect and safeguard for the kindergarten teachers. Yes, Ms. Chan. Yes, there are a lot of 5-year-old stories mentioned by the chief executive, etc. Now, these are all false stories. Let me tell you a true story in my kindergarten. The 5-year-olds would ask, what is a real universal suffrage? And they ask me, what is a badge? And they say the Bohemia award, the badge, the silver Bohemia, all those are badges. And the kindergarten students will ask me a lot of questions, and I say, you shouldn't be asking those questions. And I cannot be discourteous because I am a teacher. Now, in the one-off subsidy system, for those who are long-serving with higher salaries, they will be dismissed. I'm one of those high-risk teachers. I've been serving in the same kindergarten for 20 years, and I've been a kindergarten teacher for 25 years. And I also continue to undergo training every Monday and Wednesday, and I also have music and caring qualifications, etc. Well, perhaps, I am not married. Somebody said that men will have to set up their families, but I will have to sustain myself. I will have to pay rents, I will have to eat, etc. And do you know, kindergarten teachers cannot cannot moonlight. They cannot take up part-time work outside of their kindergarten teacher post. But I will not do so. But the kindergarten teacher pay will not be able to sustain me in the second half of my life. Who's going to pay us? Who's going to respect us? And for the government officials and the CE, this morning they said that there will be salary raise. Now, for people like us with 25 years of service and with this one-off subsidy scheme, what will happen to me? Will I have to cut pay? And they say that the environment, the operating environment will be better. What do they mean by that? Well, does it mean that the teachers have to lower their pay? Do I have to switch to another line of service or work then? Well, some people say that typists make a lot of money. We always joke among ourselves, the teachers. We say that perhaps we should change jobs and become government typists. We type fast too. Well, two years ago, I had to take leave to come here to speak at the lecture. 2 years later, I still have to do so. I do not know, 2 years from now, perhaps I am no longer Teacher Chan or I will be in some other profession, some other role. I hope not. I hope 2 years later there will not be any further deputations such as these, because there will be no need for them. Miss Fung, please. I'm a principal of a kindergarten, and I'm also a council member of early childhood education administrators. I'm here to urge for 15 years of free education, because a comprehensive and free education is a right of the child in Hong Kong. I would want to see subsidized kindergarten education. It is also the responsibility of the government, so that in the government policy there will be a free 15 years of education which will benefit the children and students of Hong Kong. We should be looking at the subsidy scheme for secondary schools, so that there will be full subsidy for kindergartens with mandatory pay scale to directly subsidize the salaries and pay of the teachers. This had been time-honored. This is a time-honored system for secondary schools, and it should apply for kindergartens, so that the market forces will not be at play in the school environment, so that there will be guaranteed quality resources and also teachers for the kindergartens. I deeply understand that this pay scale is very important for a school, and the relevant people have said that there should be a subsidy scheme for the childcare and kindergartens, so that which would be much like the secondary school subsidy scheme. But on the other hand, I think this is the government shirking their responsibility. The government should be responsible for all free education, 15-year free education, to avoid a situation where there have to be closure of schools. For the voucher system, which is half day only, it makes it very difficult for the schools to sustain on that level. There have to be a half day, full day, and long-term unit price for childcare and also kindergartens, to cater for the needs of families and also the education institutions. I will stop here. Mr. Chan, Madam Chair, the association is in support of 15 years free education, but this free education should be completely publicly funded. And therefore, I am not in favor of a one-off subsidy for kindergarten education. It's been in place as kind of one-off subsidy in the social welfare sector. and for 14 years, and it's been found to be problematic. We can foresee that the kindergarten teachers' work and working conditions will be the same as the social welfare sectors, and it is problematic. And with this ceiling and one-off subsidy, the kindergartens will get a one-off lump sum, and there will be immediate improvement to the kindergarten teachers, especially for new entrants. But as they become more senior with longer years of service, with this limited ceiling, limited resources, the pay scale will fall behind of their seniority. And we do not rule out the possibility where the kindergartens or the schools would cut down on senior teachers and the higher paid teachers, so that there will be more resources freed up for others. And also it would nurture a situation where the senior teachers and the more junior teachers will be vying against each other, which is to say that the junior teachers will think that the senior teachers are taking pay and resources out of their pockets, and the senior teachers will feel guilty. They are so highly paid. Will they be eating into the pie of the junior teachers? They may think so. This is definitely detrimental to the cooperation among teachers within the school, and it would also be detrimental to the ladder and training of the teachers. The median pay ceiling makes it difficult for the teachers to continue to improve themselves, because the qualifications will not be hinged to the pay, and therefore qualifications will not be respected, and it will become another hindering factor for further improvements and professional developments of the teachers. Definitely the government will not want to design a system to nurture this kind of vying between or among the teachers, and to create a special situation and environment for the kindergartens, which will make the new kindergartens happy, but not for the older, more established kindergartens or the senior teachers. I would want the government to rethink this design.
Thank you. Next, Dr. Kam Xiaoman. Good morning. The Council of Non-Profit Making Organizations for Pre-Primary Education has submitted a paper on this issue. We want to make 3 points today. When it comes to subsidy, well, for free KG education, if you just set it at 3 hours, then there will be a problem, because the other 7 hours would have to be paid for by parents. Young parents are under a lot of financial pressure. And also for LWKG's teaching hours, they are 3 times of that of HD. However, they only get 1/3 of the subvention. In order not to increase the burden on parents, schools or KGs, there are not increased school fees, and schools would then do not have enough resources, and this leads to an attrition of KG teachers. This will definitely be detrimental to the ecology of preschool education. This must be changed. As for LWG education, is very important for the nurturing of whole persons. LWG is a kind of education model that should be chosen by parents. We now have 260 LWG KGs. If it's fully subvented, it means only $1 billion. Then Hong Kong can implement a whole person nurturing policy, and full support can be provided to parents. This kind of demographic policy would help parents, and it would help relieve pressure on the middle class. And Hong Kong will be known as a place internationally where importance is attached to the training and education of whole persons. As for teachers, KG teachers are very important. They are teaching our children who will be the pillars of our future society. So a new pay scale should be established teachers' pay should be fully subsidized. We do not want a lump sum grant. We want our environment to be more stable. And also there should be an implementation timetable. As for premises, in the short run, qualified KGs should enjoy rental subsidies. We have to know that rental should not account for a large part of KG's operation costs, so there should be a cap on rental, and lands should be reserved for the construction of quality KGs. There should be safe outdoor environments and sufficient facilities so that good educational environments can be provided to our children. Things should be planned systematically so that we can provide both LWG and HD service. Next, Mr. Wang Weixing. Well, we have seen parents fighting for KG places in the past years. We can see from this that parents attach a lot of importance to preschool education. And preschool education is also extremely important for the development of young children. So New People's Party asked the government to implement 15 years free education as early as possible. As to how to raise the quality of preschool education, parents are very concerned about that. The key is the KG parents. I am a secondary school teacher. Some of my graduates are interested in education. However, they would want to be primary or secondary school teachers because they think that KC education is not recognized, and a lot of people do not attach importance to it because under the present system, the government asked the KG teachers to continue or further their education. However, there's no encouragement, and even the pay scale for KG teachers was abolished. So their pay levels now fluctuate. They are not sure about their future nor their promotion ladder. We hope that the Free KG Education Committee would look at this and reinstate the pay scale for KG gardens. Only by doing KG teachers. Only by doing so can talents be attracted to KG education. As for free KG education, we think it should be comprehensive. Well, other than non-profit making, HD KG, WDKG should also be subvented because they are operating under a lot of pressure. New People's Party thinks that there is still no integrated education policy in KGs, and now it's still the work of social welfare department. This is far from ideal. As for integrated students in KGs, they need a lot of help. We have to identify them early, and we should provide support to KG teachers so that early assistance can be provided to the these children with special needs. And now there is keen competition for KG places. When the government plans its outline zoning plans, it should also look at the sufficient provision of land for KGs. Next is Chen Chua-yi. I am a parent's representative. 8 years ago, I was a KG teacher. I'm an example. I left KG at the education field because the pay scale was scrapped. We had to work long hours, and other than taking care of children, we also had to do administrative work, and in the evenings we had to do our continuing education because that's the government requirements. Otherwise, we would not be qualified to be KG teachers. So we faced a lot of work pressure. However, we don't have a standard pay scale. That's why I left the field. Now, after 8 years, I am a parent. I am still seeing that the government's preschool pre-primary education. As a parent, now I see that now the government is only subventing KG education for 3 hours. This gives rise to a lot of problems. I am a working parent, and at the moment we can enjoy education voucher. However, if this is scrapped, parents' financial burden will be heavier. And when I go to work every day, I will be worried about my child. If I choose the 3-hour mode, then other than the 3 hours, I would be worried as to who will be taking care of my children. That would also affect my work. As a working parent, I want my child to learn at school, and I also want my child to receive a whole person education. KG teachers have received professional training. They are not just taking care of my child. They would help my child to develop in a whole person manner. And now 30% of the WD and LWT KGs are taking care of our children, and they also provide whole person education to kids. In the policy address, I see that the government attaches a lot of importance to young people's education. However, I think at the same time, WD and LWD education should also be a great concern, and more subsidy should be given. Thanks. Next, Ms. Wang Lai-yin. Thank you. Good morning. I am the chairman of the Parent Teachers Association of Changchuk-san Kindergarten. Kindergartens should be diversified. However, the government is only subventing KGs for 3 hours a day. This is really not enough, and parents are very disappointed. HD education is insufficient. The government is not concerned about grassroots families' needs. Young parents are under huge financial pressure. We have to raise our kids. We have to pay for our parents' living, and rental is high. Inflation is serious. We are an ordinary family. Parents have to work. So LWG service is ordinary parents' need and right. This is not something that you choose. It's something that you really need. Parents' financial capability should not be a factor. And WDKGs accounts for 30% of the KG education in Hong Kong, and now the government is only subventing for 3 hours. We want KGs to teach our children. They have to learn a lot at KGs, not just knowledge, but also how to make friends and how to be sociable. So balanced education should be provided in KGs, and working parents really hope that their children can receive quality KG education. So subvention should be provided to HD, WD, and LWD KGs, not only 3-hour HD service. In the latest policy address, it is just suggested that WD places for children under the age of 3 should be increased, but there's silence on how the funding mode will be. And there's also a lump sum grant for WD KGs. If just the number of places increases, and if there's just a lump sum grant, working parents would not be helped. And KGs will be operating in a more difficult environment. School fees would have to go up, and this will also make our burden heavier. Now, under the education voucher system, we still have to pay $2,000 a month, and if there's only 3 hours subvention, it's only about 1/3 of the fees we have to pay. Mr. Chen, I'm the parent of 3 children. Some other parents have shared their feelings and their experiences, so I'm not going to repeat them. What I want to say is, well, about 15-year free education, I think it would be beneficial to society. A few days ago, the government talked about aging population. In the coming 20 years, Hong Kong's population would be aging rapidly, and in 2014, 1/3 of our population will be over 65. Hong Kong is facing this big problem. We want to release Hong Kong's work potential, but now you are implementing a system whereby HD education will only be subvented. If that is the case, how can we find a half-day job so that we can support our livelihood? If I work for 3 hours a day, then I can just work at a place nearby. If I have to take a bus to another area, then I can only work for 2 hours. And if I just work for 2 hours a day, how can I support my family? Under the present education voucher system, my big son is 5 years old. He's at K2, and now even with the education voucher, I have to pay $2,000 a month. And next year, my younger daughter will also be going to KG, and I will have to pay $5,000 or $6,000 a month for their KG education. And you are now promoting a policy in which I am required to work only half a day. So how can I support my family? We are working parents. And the policy address also says that, well, for Hong Kong's population from 2018 onwards, it will go down. 15 years of free education will help relieve our burden. The CE and the government think that this policy will help young parents, no matter whether it's short-term or not long-term. I think this policy should be implemented as soon as possible, but it's not only for HD education. We should subvent LWG KGs, then this would help parents. And it's not just for Hong Kong's education, it's also for Hong Kong's future and also for the overall interest of Hong Kong. I hope the Hong Kong government can implement 15 years free education as early as possible. We do not need lump sum grants. We do not want to go through cumbersome applications to get fee remissions, because that really cannot help the parents in Hong Kong. Next slide. Chairman, good morning. I'm the principal of a non-profit making KG. I've been in this field for 40 years. I love children. I am very concerned about the quality of KG teachers. Raising KG teachers' quality is important, and quality KG education is also important. KG teachers would have to look at the different needs and levels of pupils, and they would have to tailor-make programs for them to prepare education materials for them. And pupils' performance have to be recorded so they can be used as a reference for the children's future development. In Hong Kong, we have HD, WD, and LWD KGs, and also we have other types of services. When number 3 typhoon signal is hoisted, the Education Bureau would announce that all KG classes be suspended. However, LWD KGs need to continue to operate to take care of children until their parents come to pick them up. So you can see that KG teachers are under a lot of pressure. Pre-primary education is diversified. However, the government is not providing enough support for different types of KGs. The LWD KGs teachers' attrition rate is very high. This will have a negative impact on teaching quality and children's sense of safety and learning attitude would also be affected. Pre-primary education is a foundation for education. Only by having a good foundation can we nurture good young people. We need a stable professional team. I hope that before I retire, the government would implement the following points. First, for KG teachers, I hope that a standard pay scale can be set up, and also KG education, teaching staff's pay should be fully subvented, and the operating costs of KGs should be fully subvented. And also for the new KG teachers, they should be degree holders. And also for pupil to teacher ratio, it should be 1:8 and 1:12. And also one additional teacher should be employed so as to take care of pupils with special needs. And also a special platform should be set up so that KG teachers can share their experiences. Thank you. Next, Ms. Chen. Good morning. I come here in my personal capacity. 2 years ago, I was the principal of a KG, and today I am a retired principal, and I would like to share with you my feelings. I've been working for 42 years in this field. For 30 years, I work for a LWD KG. I'm happy that the government has set up a committee on free kindergarten education. But lately, I've heard some disappointing news. How come the government is only subventing KGs for 3 hours? How come it always ignores the functions of LWD KGs? Well, people may think that it's enough for children to go to KG for 3 hours a day. But please look at the LWD KGs. Our children are from 2 to 6. Well, originally they didn't know anything. They didn't know how to eat. They didn't know how to put on their shoes. But they learn all this in the LWD KGs. Some people say that, well, even now, even primary school students don't know how to tie their shoelace. But for pupils graduating from our KG, they know how to do this, and they don't need to pay a high tuition fee to attend other supplementary classes.
We provide diversified services. When we wanted to recruit teachers for extended hours, we very often failed. So it's very difficult to get such teachers. So we really want a pay structure and professional ladder for these early childhood teachers. Then our children will get quality early childhood education. Otherwise, if our teachers do not feel comfortable, we won't be able to provide quality early education. I won't have another chance to come to LegCo to strive for LWD KG education. So please do not neglect our co-workers in LWD KGs. You have to treat us fairly. Thank you. Next, Ms. Mann. Good morning, members and chairman. I've always been engaged in LWD KG education for over 30 years, and I've been serving as a school principal for 20 years. Unfortunately, I retreated from this. Why? Because I encountered unscrupulous employers. When childcare centers and KGs were amalgamated, I encountered this unscrupulous situation that our pay structure was abolished. Every day I was establishing my team, training teachers and so forth. Unfortunately, the employers did not consider this. They would only look at the budgets. When they had money, they would tell me they didn't have money. When they were making profits, they told me they were having deficits. Then I told the young friends of mine that they had to calculate what they would have to sacrifice if they join early childhood education, ECE. Well, our KG teachers don't offer fluctuating salaries. You really have to possess a CE or even a degree. Then you must give them a recognized pay structure. Why should they be entitled to the entry point only? Why is it that with additional professional qualifications, they are not given the maximum point in the pay scale? Consider that they are working very hard day after day. I don't have financial pressure, so I can retreat. Unfortunately, many other teachers have to work very, very hard from day to day. Even though they're exhausted, they can't have time to take care of their own children. So, honorable members, please really go to the districts to look at the situations. We need money for education. Everybody should be equal. In a metropolitan city like Hong Kong, our future lies in the development of early childhood education, ECE. But you won't see the results now. You can only see the results 10 years, 20 years from now. So it is necessary to have resources for all this. Ms. Chan, well, I'm the school principal of an LWD-KG. Our KG is in Yau Ma Tei. I'm very concerned about SEN children, new arrival children, ethnic minority children, and so forth, particularly the SEN students. On a long-term basis, we're facing the serious problem of shortage of resources. Let me give you some examples. A Nepalese child had both parents not conversant with English and Chinese. They only spoke Nepalese. I went through all government departments to ask for a Nepalese interpreter. The buck was passed from one department to another. And then we paid $500 after an introduction by the SWD for an interpreter. But we had all problems after the child joined our school. And then in another example, a child lived in subdivided flats. We discovered that that child was always stumbling along when it walked. It's because that child had always been walking on a soft bed at home. So its reading and writing abilities were not in order. And this child also had emotional problems. It resorted to violence. We talked to the school social worker and discovered that the mother was a new arrival. That mother had depression because she could not adapt to the new environment. So she also resorted to violence to teach her child. But we don't always have a school social worker. Now, in all those examples, the mothers stayed at home, but they're housewives. If those 3 children only attend a half-day KG, they will have to stay at home for half a day. That will hamper their development. So don't think that half-day KGs are the best. In fact, Yau Ma Tei is not the poorest district in Hong Kong. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We face pressure, and teachers are facing huge pressure in enrolling these pupils. As we have to employ a school social worker, we've been adding to the burden of parents. And our school has to handle all these problems on top of educational circumstances. Time's up for you. Please stop. Time's up for you. Please stop. Time's up. Please stop. Would you please hand over the floor to the next speaker? Sorry. Next, Ms. Chan. Thank you. I'm a KG teacher. I'm not talking about pay. We would like to voice out for the small children. We observed unfairness in early childhood education, ECE. Why should we have two systems, whole day and half day? First of all, fairness. If you have a fair educational concept, every child should be respected irrespective of their family background. They should enjoy equal educational opportunities. They are human beings. They are not cargoes. Don't just give them 3 hours of learning per day. That's not fair. You must provide comprehensive subvention to them to assist with their holistic development. That's fairness. As regards changes in social modes, some people are of the view that 3 hours per day would be enough for ECE. There should be parenting hours. Of course, the more the better. But many parents can't stop working. They have to sustain their families. Given the present environment in Hong Kong, more and more parents are working, and children raising falls onto the shoulders of the elderly members of the family and the maids. And many young children find it boring to stay at home, so it's better for them to stay in school rather than staying with their mates. And they don't have support from other family members. There is this child who have parents all working in mahjong parlors with no assistance from other family members. The child could only wait for their parents in the mahjong parlor every day. Just ask yourselves, is it better for the child to stay at school or in a mahjong parlor? Many family members have no way out. The parents have to bring their children to their workplaces, and these children only get one book when staying in their parents' workplaces. Is it better to let them have whole-day KG education? Many parents said that the application procedures for assistance were very complicated. They'd rather work harder than to apply for assistance. Our social mode has changed. The government shouldn't stay in the era of 3-hour ECE. There should be whole day and long whole day KGs, and our teachers are bearing their responsibilities. So why not the government? So there should be comprehensive subvention for whole day KG so as to accord a fair and equal opportunity to each and every child. Next, an alliance for 15 years of free KG education. Well, operational flexibility, class reduction, and place allocation, etc., are issues facing us. We met with the government to express our concerns. More importantly, we work for the children of Hong Kong to provide a fair and development platform for all our children. We attach importance to educational ideals. This is a choice of values. We're afraid that the future 15 years of free education won't reduce the discrepancies among schools in terms of quality, size, as well as children development. We're worried that if you still adopt a market-oriented policy or this voucher scheme, the ecology of ECE will be hampered. If you don't go back to the basics for ECE, in future, the 100,000 children and their hundreds of thousands of parents and non-profit making KGs and KG teachers would be affected. We cannot bear a poorer policy. Today, we're from different sectors and different organizations, but we are concerted in one voice. Poverty, integration, inclusion, ECE are all problems facing us. We must have an interdepartmental platform for this. We should benefit the whole society of Hong Kong. You shouldn't repeat your mistakes in housing problems. We don't know what your ECE policies will become 10 years from now. It's already too complicated. Councillors and officials should attach importance to ECE in terms of long-term development. In particular, professionalism of KG teachers. We mentioned a number of times that you should respect KG teachers. We don't want to sit here 20 years, 30 years from now to argue about ECE. We would like to have a fair platform. Next, Mr. Chan. Thank you, Madam Chairman. We all know that in education, we influence life by way of our own life. We would like to have a quality, stable teaching team. This 15 years of free education is a good opportunity for us to keep investing and be committed to ECE. You should improve the teaching environment of KG teachers to provide them with a professional career and to avoid ancillary measures to holistically upgrade the status of KG teachers. I've been a KG supervisor for over a decade. We should continuously enhance the professionalism of KG teachers. You should treasure KG teachers. But after the implementation of the voucher scheme, the subsidy for KG teachers was abolished. We heard that we're now going to have this one-off grant instead of comprehensive subvention for ECE. Yes, we're told that we can flexibly make use of the subvention, but given the median wage offered very soon will not be able to make our ends meet. So KGs are facing a dilemma. Choices are difficult. In future, we may need to freeze or reduce the salaries of our KG teachers. This is not good, leading to wastage. It's also a loss to KGs. It's also a damage to ECE. Therefore, our organization would like the government to develop quality ECE and to adopt a binding pay scales and structure for KG teachers. There must be career prospect for our KG teachers, and we should encourage KG teachers to engage in in-service training that will benefit ECE. Next, Mr. Fung. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm a male KG teacher. At present, we have about 12,000 KG teachers. Only 100 odd are men. Very often, we say that ECE needs a lot more male teachers to balance ECE development. But if there are no stable pay scales, you won't be able to absorb men to the profession. I am actually a registered teacher for primary and secondary education. I hold a university degree, but I chose KG education. KG teachers have to receive professional training as well as supervision. Why is it that we have pay scales for primary and secondary schools but not KGs? Why should you separate KG teachers from the other teachers? It's just like a nurse. Whether or not he is serving elderly people, adults, or infants, or children, they enjoy the same pay. For a teacher, no matter what students they're teaching, we're doing the same. We nurture students such that they become useful persons in society. So you must respect them. This one-off grant system is actually a disrespect for KG teachers. You're deterring new entrants, particularly the males. Does anybody want to get into a profession with no prospect? And you should also start a master degree program for ACE. All along, we continuously upgrade ourselves. In the past 7 to 8 years, we now have almost 100% degree holding situation. ECE qualifications are ever rising. For 15 years of free education, you should include ECE as well. But in fact, you don't even respect ECE teachers. In the eyes of the government, we can be abolished. We're not working for money, but that doesn't mean that we should be exploited. We cannot accept an ECE system that exploits teachers. If ECE has no prospect, no sustainable development, that won't work. We do not accept the government's proposal for a one-off grant. We don't want the sophistry of CY Leung. We want a sound pay system, a sound professional career for KG teachers. Next, Ms. Yong. Thank you. I would like the government to respect KG teacher qualifications and to adopt a degree requirement for KG teachers. I really have to sigh here. Many of my co-workers have actually retired or retreated from ECE education. We've been putting up a strive for a long period of time. I've been working on the subject for over 20 years. Last week, together with KG teachers, parents, and pupils, we petitioned to the government. I met one of my KG pupils back then. This pupil is now a university student.
But when I see the government coming up with the 15 years of free education, telling the Hong Kong people and the world in a very high-profile manner that Hong Kong already has 15 years of free education, the devil is in the details. I do not see this actual system, and I do not see the way out, and I am much aggrieved because of that. Some 8-9 years ago, I think it was the last LegCo. At the time, we said that the voucher system will not be good for Hong Kong, but the government was disregarded that and went ahead with it anyway. We said time and again, voiced our concern that the voucher system would actually hit the morale of the entire profession, and it would be detrimental for kindergarten education. Well, the government seem to see the light now. We said time and again at the time that it is not a practicable system, and in fact, our pay had also been hurt because of that, and the pay scale. We are already 100% certificate teachers, and 40% are graduate teachers in the ranks of the kindergarten teachers, and we work for the welfare, the benefit of our students, the young children. But we do not see any protection and commitment from the government to us. When we found out that there was to be this one-off grant among the kindergartens from the government. My co-worker said that we are angry for that. We are angry about it because we do not see a future. There are 26 bodies or individuals who have voiced their opinions. I would like Mr. Young to respond. And after that, I would like members to ask questions. Yes. Mr. Young, thank you very much for your opinions. I know there will be a few more sessions later on today. I will be listening carefully the individuals and the bodies who come up. And I hear a few very clear thoughts today. One, concerning the full day versus half-day arrangements, teachers' pay scale and pay. And it was also mentioned the subsidy system, should it be segregated into privately run and non-privately run kindergartens, and also the voucher system. What would the future subsidy scheme be under the system? Well, in fact, we have heard these views before, but I'm definitely happy today to hear them again. At present, I do not have concrete responses because we are still waiting for the committee to come up with recommendations before we consider the matter comprehensively. In their discussions of the committee, perhaps there's a lot of information coming out from time to time. But as of now, we only know of certain directional thoughts from the committee. There are no specific recommendations. Well, I feel that you seem to think that there are certain decisions which have already been made, but I would say it is not as advanced as that. I would like to point that out. And I will wait for the members' questions. Yes, there are 5 members who have indicated interest to speak. Whom else? I would like to allocate time. Regina Ip, Chan Chi-chen, Chan Chiu-hong, Vice Chairman, and myself. Anybody else, please? No? 3 minutes for each, please. Ms. Regina Ip. Madam Chair, I'd like to know from the government, this voucher system, the parties are in favor of money following the people. I mean, that's been time-honored in the 1950s. Milton Friedman, Nobel Prize winner, had already written about this. And in the U.S., actually, it was not really that successful because money following the people led to the closure of certain schools right away. And there were unfairness. The strong became stronger, the weak weaker. So for the voucher system, which was introduced in 2007 in Hong Kong, the parents, the industry, and the trade actually were not unwelcoming. They thought that it helped them. Now, for this one-off grant, would it not also create this situation of closures, of the strong getting stronger and the weak getting weaker, and also not be able to take care of the poor areas or the children from the poor areas, the SENs and the racial minorities? Further, personally speaking, I believe that not everything has to be the bill has to be footed by the government. The parents should also pay up as well. So it is for kindergarten education. Yes, as pointed out, long-range planning is important because of rental rises, etc. Some of the kindergartens were in very dire straits, including the parents of the students. So I would put this to you. For this long-term planning, what are your thinking about venues, about rentals and sites? Mrs. Ip is correct in pointing out that the voucher system would promote marketization. For money following parents and for the parents to make the decisions or choices follows the market mechanism, leading to problems as outlined by Mrs. Ip. This one-off grant would not be the same. On the other hand, when we look at the social welfare sector one-off grant, well, this grant is given to the operators, so the marketization forces would not be as strong than as the social welfare sector. And there's been a lot of opinions and comments on the latter as well. That is a social welfare sector one-off grant. And therefore, we have taken those into account in considering our one-off grant scheme. There are no decisions just yet. As for planning, yes, that is definitely something that we are considering. Can we actually do this? We have certain land planning, but whether we have already earmarked a particular piece of land, for instance, by the government for building of kindergartens, well, we will consider this as well in our long-term planning. Chan Chi-chun. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for coming up to this meeting. Different bodies and individuals. You are people with hearts. Those who want to make big money would not want to invest or be engaged in kindergarten education. A kindergarten teacher said that his salary was low as the following. And that is his part-time job as a telebit phone staff was actually paid better than his teacher position. Well, the committee is leaking out information, but if you look at the policy address, in fact, 151, paragraph 151, it talks about the basic subsidy for half-day kindergarten. In fact, even the theme of that paragraph or that section is about half-day subsidy. Basically, the government is just using the committee as a frontliner. Well, theoretically, having done a lot of consultation and so on and so forth, but in fact, the government had closed the door to anything other than half-day kindergarten. We will be going to 5:30 today with the deputations, but basically, all we hear will be to urge the government to come up with something other than that, rather than to have half-day kindergarten school and then have full-day care. As far as I know, this is a segregation between the two, and that is after the kindergarten closes, after the day, half-day, or after the subsidy for half-day kindergarten, they're looking at full-day care. And my question to you is, how far is it, full-day care, how far is it from what you are asking for? Dr. Kam, would you want to respond to that? Well, I would like to know, for full-day kindergarten is 8 to 6, and each session is geared towards whole person development for the child, for the student, and specialist teachers are engaged in achieving that end. But for 3-hour sessions, well, the government can surely provide care, or that is, other than kindergarten, the care centers can only provide play, games, and care service, not specialist education. Well, for full-day care, then they do not have to follow the teacher-student ratio. Maybe one person can take care of a big group of children. I would like to know what the government is thinking. Perhaps Mr. Yeung can respond to that. Well, Madam Chair, simply put, we are talking about full-day or long full-day care. In the policy address for the kindergarten ecology, half-day school is a mainstream. And therefore, the policy address says that there will be a consideration actually we are considering full day as well as long full day. Dr. Chung, thank you for coming up. 15 years of free education was promised by the Chief Executive, but in implementation we are highly worried. We're talking about a one-off grant here. You have to forestall this, avoid this at all costs. My sector, the Social Welfare Department, has already been condemned because of that. And we see no way out of this pit. Think of the teachers, think of the staff, the clerks in the school office, etc. Once this one-off grant is introduced, their pay will immediately drop. This is an unjust system, and my sector is still struggling within this pit. It is the source of all evils. It has completely shaken our pay scale, our deployment structure, destroyed our sense of safety, and also in management positions, it had elicited a number of evil factors, promoted class struggles and competition among staff. So I say, over the dead body, never, never, never. The education EDB believes that kindergarten or young child education need not be full day. Half day is sufficient. But for the middle class, I'm sure they think that, well, we want to spend more time with our children. Full day would be childcare, not kindergarten. And therefore, the thinking is that young children do not need to be learning the whole day through. And perhaps this 15-year education would include only half-day school for kindergarten, and for the rest of the hours, well, apply for social welfare and other benefits. I see that as the direction of thinking right now, and that will be repeating what we've seen just now, and that is a fracturing of the system. You have to understand that in society there are different needs, half day and full day. And it's not full day child care only. So whether it is one-off, this one-off grant and the system, I hope the government is very, very clear in understanding these 2 points. I'm sure they're not here to respond today, but rather than to listen to us. Don't go down the wrong way. Well, I think the government has heard that very clearly. Their worries concerning one-off grants. Yes. Next member. Thank you very much, the Red Warriors, for coming amongst us today. Your voices have been very consistent and very clear, and Professor Chung had made clear their plight in the social welfare sector. Now, if this one-off grant is to be decided at the end of the day by the government as their way forward for budgeting, then we will have to ask the question again, why they have already messed up in the social welfare sector. And here we are looking at it again. Now, many members have also voiced their opinions on the other major issue, and that is the full-day arrangement. The government seems to be stemming from certain theoretical persuasion. Perhaps they feel that this is about learning, or anything other than half-day would be non-learning related, and therefore the subsidy is put on half-day schooling only. Now, my question is, from child education, young child education, is it true that anything other than or extending beyond half-day should be looked at as non-education related? Are these activities-based only? I mean, tell me more. Tell me if it is also education, and should not be construed as activities other than education. As far as I understand, kindergarten and primary school, very different. Primary is more about knowledge acquisition, but KG is composite, comprehensive. It's about whole person development. Perhaps Dr. Yun would want to respond? Yes, perhaps I shall respond. There are a lot of studies overseas on kindergarten education. There really should not be a segregation between education and care. Education is very narrowly defined, and it's not only about what we're talking about in the primary and secondary schools. That's the first point. Second point about care. Brain development. For the child to effectively learn, they have to be effectively cared for as well. And when we talk about caring for the student and their needs, for the child, well, perhaps it is more physical care. Even university students need psychological care. It's just that children have more different demands. So in brain research for good child care and education and care should be two sides of the same coin. They should not be segregated. Yes, I have the honor of the last question. Thank you very much once again for coming up here. I feel deeply, especially for frontline workers. Some of you are depressed, some of you are sad, some of you are angry because of what you have yearned for so many years had not come to pass. And I remember I sat as chair at a deputation session as well, and I have met many of you at that session. And at the time, even then, and I also do understand that there had been demands for KG teachers, continued learning and training, but it's not been recognized at the end of the day, the qualifications. And really, this cannot appease the teachers. If the teachers are so angry, how can you expect them to put their whole hearts into their work and education? Well, 15 years of free education. Before it comes to pass, at least there should be a pay scale for the kindergarten teachers so that they have a safe and stable environment for providing their work. But today, we're still looking at the same agenda, and it's still not been addressed. Help us out here. Now, we have done a lot of research. We have talked about the differences between kindergartens and teachers having, when they switch schools, they may fall down the pay scale, and also teachers leaving their posts. Do you have figures? Anybody? Do you have figures to share?
Can answer my questions? Ms. Chow? Well, when the education voucher scheme was implemented, we conducted a study on the attrition rate of teachers. At that time, the pay scale was abolished. So for LWD teachers, there was a double-digit attrition rate. If you want the exact figures, I can provide them to you after the meeting. Now, why did they leave their post? Because for LWD KG, the work hours were very long. And you also require them to take further education. The government required the KG teachers to further their education within 5 years. So if they work in LWD KGs, it's impossible for them to do so. And some of them move to other KGs. So this dealt a blow at the morale of teachers. Why do teachers stress so much on a standard pay scale? because it's very difficult for them to obtain a degree, and eventually they get it, but they are not paid for it. Yes, please, if you have the figures, please provide them to us after the meeting so that members can have a clearer picture. Mr. Regina Ip wants to ask a second round question, but I can only give you 1 minute because we have to wrap up this session at 45. I would like to ask the Education Bureau. You can answer me later. You have used a lot of description for describing pre-primary education, uniqueness, equity, quality, diversity, and sustainability, but you are only subventing for 3 hours. So what do you want to be included in those 3 hours? I remember when I attended kindergarten, it was only 3 hours. I was playing games, I was singing, and I was taking naps. So what's your ideal pre-primary education? Please be succinct. With regard to this question, at the committee, we have discussed this a lot. There are different types of services, HD, WD, and LWD. They all have their own functions. We are not saying that a certain type of service is not good. So the committee's initial inclination is that we would be focusing our subvention on HDKGs. In this year's policy address, it has also stated that it will be looking at WD and LWD KGs and decide on the future funding mode. So please look at the whole picture. We are not just subventing HD. There will be other developments in the future. Okay, thank you. We should wrap up this session. I would like to thank you for attending our meeting, for expressing your views. If you have supplementary comments, please provide them to us. Well, I'm sorry, I'm suffering from an ailment. I will take 1 hour's leave. I have to go to the doctor. So the next session will be chaired by the vice chairman. And I would ask my colleagues to invite the next batch of deputations to come in.